All right, let's jump right into a topic that's both really fascinating and honestly a little unsettling. There's this buzzword that's completely taking over the tech world, Agentic AI. It's painting this picture of a future with powerful, independent machines. But here's the question. What if, in our race to empower our technology, we're actually, accidentally, disempowering ourselves?
And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of the irony. On one side, we're building agentic AI, machines that can act on their own. But on the other, we might be pushing ourselves into what psychologists call the agentic state, where we humans stop acting for ourselves and just follow orders. It really makes you wonder, are these two ideas on a collision course?
So let's break this down. What exactly is this dangerous double meaning? We've got two completely clashing definitions of basically the same word. Okay, so first up is the tech industry's version. When you hear people talking about agentic AI, they're talking about the dream, right? Building systems that don't just find information for you, but actually complete complex tasks, make decisions, basically operate on their own. It's the next big thing, the future everyone's so excited about. But then you look at psychology, and there's this much older, much darker definition. Decades ago, the psychologist Stanley Milgram described a state of mind where a person basically outsources their free will to an authority. They start seeing themselves as just an instrument, a tool, and they no longer feel responsible for what they're doing. That is the agentic state.
And this is the central question we've got to tackle. Is our quest for agentic AI pushing us, the users, into a psychological agentic state? Are we so focused on building smart tools that we're forgetting to think for ourselves?
So this isn't just a theory. Let's look at the modern evidence, because researchers who study how we interact with computers are already seeing some really troubling signs of this new tech-fueled agentic state. So the first piece of evidence is something called automation bias. This is our proven, documented tendency to trust automated systems a little too much, to believe what they tell us even when our own common sense is screaming that something is wrong. It's like a glitch in our own human software. And then there's this other wild phenomenon called algorithmic appreciation. Seriously, modern studies are showing that we humans will often rate advice or even art as being better just because we think an AI made it. It's like we have this built-in respect for the algorithm's opinion.
And maybe the most dangerous part of all this is complacency. The research is pretty clear. When a person is working with an AI assistant, their own attention, their own vigilance can just plummet. We just kind of let our guard down and assume the machine's got it covered.
Look, this isn't just some quirky thing that happens in a lab. This automation trance, this blind faith we're putting in machines, it's having very real and sometimes truly tragic consequences out in the real world.
Think about transportation. We've seen documented cases of fatal crashes with semi-autonomous cars, and when they dig into it, the key factor wasn't just that the system failed. It was that the human driver had become too complacent. They over-relied on the system and had completely stopped paying attention to the road.
Or take medicine. AI holds so much promise as a diagnostic tool, right? But we've already seen cases where doctors, probably due to automation bias, just uncritically accepted a wrong diagnosis from an algorithm. And that led to real patient harm. They trusted the code more than their own years of training.
And you see this in finance and the justice system too. People have been wrongfully denied a loan, or a place to live, or even parole, all because a human decision-maker treated the output from a flawed algorithm like it was gospel, not a suggestion. So the big question is, why? Why on earth are we so willing to just hand over the keys to a machine? Well, to really get the psychology behind it, we can actually look back to Stanley Milgram's classic theory.
Milgram defined the agentic state as this very specific headspace. It's a mental shift where you stop seeing yourself as the one in charge of your actions. Instead, you see yourself as an agent, just an instrument, carrying out what a higher authority wants.
And here is where it all clicks into place for today. That higher authority isn't a person in a lab coat anymore. No, today, it's the calm, confident voice of your GPS. It's the official-looking output from a diagnostic AI. It's the cold, hard logic of a financial model. The machine is the new authority figure.
The mental process for how we get there is what Milgram called the agentic shift, and it happens in a few steps. First, you perceive something as a legitimate authority. And with AI, we see it as faster, smarter, and less biased than we are. Then you cede your personal responsibility to it. And from there, you just execute its commands.
This quote from Milgram just nails it. The feeling of responsibility doesn't go away, it just gets rerouted.
You feel responsible for correctly following the AI's instructions, but you no longer feel responsible for the outcome of those instructions. If something goes wrong, well, that's on the machine.
So, are we just doomed? Is this where we're headed? Just becoming passive button pushers for our own creations? Well, the good news is, no, it's not inevitable. Modern research into AI safety is already showing us some clear, practical solutions.
The antidote is all about being intentional. First, we can design systems that demand meaningful human control, what's often called a human-in-the-loop model. The AI suggests, but a human has to make the final call. Second, we have to get serious about AI literacy, training people to really understand an AI's limits. And finally, and this is really cool, we can actually design AI to encourage us to be skeptical, to prompt us to question its own answers instead of just blindly trusting them.
In the end, this isn't about being anti-AI. Not at all. It's about being pro-smart collaboration. The goal isn't to ditch these incredibly powerful tools. The goal is to develop the wisdom to use them as our partners, not our commanders. It's about us maintaining our own agency.
So as we continue to build more and more agentic technology, the real challenge isn't just about coding smarter machines. It's about remembering how to remain agents ourselves. And for now at least, that choice is still ours to make.